So what I've done here is I've sorted out the cards that I pulled. I've also separated out and put to one side a number of cards, so what I'm left with here is all the cards that I feel drawn to. I've organised them by colour, and I've also got a pile here of all the multicoloured cards. We're going to build a 40 card deck, so we're going to have 16 land or 16 mana base, around about that, and then 24 of our creatures, instant sorceries, all our spells basically. So just going through this, what I have here is I have the most amount of cards in terms of the best cards is in white, and I'll just go through these piles and flag up what the different strengths are in the colours and what cards we've got. So we've got Espeth Knight Errant. So this is probably the strongest card I pulled out of the whole lot. It gives us a number of things. It allows us to put out tokens, it allows us to pump creatures and give them evasion through flying, and with its ultimate ability we can also give artifacts, creatures, enchantments, lands indestructibility. So that's, obviously going to be a first choice. We've got Battlegrace Angel, which in addition to having flying, is also exalted in that it will give a creature that's attacking alone, one of our creatures, +1/+1 until end of turn. Also, another ability it has is it has the ability, if a creature attacks alone, to give it lifelink. Knight of the Skyward Eye is a 2/2 for 2. It has an extra ability for 3 and a green. We can pump it. Now the problem is that this is only going to work if we're playing green. I may choose to include this even if I don't play green, because it's just a 2/2 for 2. Guardians of Akrasa is Defender. It's 2 and white for a 0/4. It also has Exalted on it as well. Then we have Metallurgian, which allows us to basically regenerate target artifacts as its ability. So we've got 2 of those. We have Excommunicate, which allows us to put a target creature back on top of its owner's library. We have Battle Mage, which has is a 2/2 for 3, has some extra abilities. For green, 1 green, we can tap it and give a target creature trample until end of turn. But also for a blue, 1 blue, we can tap it and give a creature flying until end of turn. Now again, whether or not we can play these abilities is dependent on how the build goes, and I may choose not to include this and bring back one of the white cards that I excluded if I go with white. Then finally we have an artifact, and it's interesting in the Shards of Alara the artifacts did have colours attributed to them. So this is 3 and a white, so it's not totally colourless. It has flying. When Sanctum Gargle comes into play, you may return a target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So some very useful cards in there. And we're moving on to black. So we've got the first creature here has both Cycling and Unearth as an ability. It's a 3/3 for 4. Then we've got an instant that can remove a target card in the graveyard from the game, and it also gives you 3 life. Then we've got Dredgegate Zombie, which also has Unearth on it. So you can, with Unearth, you can return the card from the graveyard and it gains haste, but then you have to exile it at the end of the turn or whenever it leaves play. And the Unearth is at sorcery speed. It's a sorcery. So 2 of those. I've also got Executioner's Capsule, which is an artifact. Again, it's got you have to have 1 black mana to play it, so it's not a colourless. And for 1 and a black, you tap it, sacrifice it, and you can destroy a target non-black creature. So very handy creature removal in black there. Then we move on to green. So with the black we've basically got 6 cards there in that one. In the green we have the same amount of cards, 6. We've got Naturalize, which is our artifact and enchantment removal. We have Elvish Visionary, which we can use to draw a card as well. Soul's Might's interesting. We can use it to put counters on a target creature based on the creature's power. Then we've got this sorcery spell. Now this, what this does is allows us to look at the top 4 cards of our library, and you can reveal a creature card and a land card, put them into your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it's sort of an early version, I suppose, or a variant of scrying, I think. Mostodon, interesting ability. For 1 colourless, you can target a creature with power 5 or greater and give it trample till end of turn. And that's 5/3/4/5. And then Keeper of Progenitus. So whenever a player taps a mountain, forest or plains, that player adds 1 mana pool of any... Sorry, I'll start again. Whenever a player taps a mountain, forest or plains cards for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. So, good if you're playing mountains, forests and plains, but don't forget it also applies to your opponent as well. Then we move on to blue. We have Esper Battle Mage. 2/2 for 3. Interesting abilities. For white we can tap it and prevent the next 2 damage. That will be dealt this turn. And black, for black we can tap it and then target creature gets -1/-1. So some useful abilities there. We've got Cancel, which allows us to counter a spell. And we've got 2 Call to Heals, which allows us to return a target creature to its owner's hand and its controller draws a card. So we can use that both on ourselves and our opponent as well for various reasons. And then for red we had, I think I got pulled 3 red here. So we've got Soul's Fire, where we can target a creature so you target the creature and it deals damage equal to its power to a target creature or player. We've got Dragon Fodder, which allows us to put 2 1/1 red goblin creatures into play, and Vithian Stinger, which you can tap and deal 1 damage to a target creature or player. It also has Unearth on it. And moving on, this is where it's going to get interesting, because a lot of what we're going to do in this particular set is probably going to be dependent on mana fixing, because of the fact it looks like we're going to have to run 3 colours. So this is really going to, in some ways, force my hand, so to speak, or make me go in a certain direction based on if I have an awful lot of cards that are really strong for fixing mana, and it fits in with, you know, what cards I want to play. So here I have the ability through artifacts to fix for a white blue black build, a black red green build, a blue black red build, and then I've got basically another piece of another artifact here, which is an equipment artifact, which will give a creature death touch. And I sort of picked this one out when I was showing you the cards originally. So that's interesting there. Now we've got some interesting stuff here. In that we do have an awful lot of white, blue, black fixing. We have Arcane Sanctum. We've actually got 2 of those. We have Esper Panorama, which fixes for plains, islands, swamps. So that's white, blue, black. And then we have Bant, which fixes for green, white, blue. But the real strength so far, looking at what we've got here, is we've got some Esper stuff. and we've got Arcane Sanctum. So we've got some real good fixing for white, blue, black. Now the reason why we're interested in that is now we come on to the multicoloured, it's going to give us some idea of how easier it is to play some of this stuff. So not surprisingly, because I sorted this, on the top I put white, blue, black. So we've got Brilliant Ultimatum, which is a bit of an unusual card, in that you remove the top 5 cards of your library from the game, and then the opponent separates them into 2 piles, and you choose to play a certain number of cards from either one pile or the other, and obviously the rest are removed, or stay removed from the game. But the thing is, you don't have to pay their mana cost. And we have Winright Mage, which is a white, blue, black as well. That has lifelink. It's a 2/2 for 3, and it also has flying as long as an artifact card is in your graveyard. So there are white, blue, blacks. Now there was also some mana fixing for blue, black, red, I believe. Was that right? Let's just have a look. Hang on. Let's get this right. Yeah, blue, black, red. But not as much as the other one. So we've got Grixis Charm, which is an instant, and it allows us to do a number of different things we can choose. But we have 2 Kederic Creepers, which are horror creatures with Death Touch. And it can't be blocked by 2 or more creatures. So, you could go for a blue, black, red build here, but it wouldn't be as good mana fixing as the white, blue, black build. And also, if we went around that route, we wouldn't be able to play any of the whites, so we wouldn't be able to play Espeth, anything like that. We've got some blue, red as well, which would fit in with that Swerve. But then it gets interesting. We've got Woolly Thoctor, which is red, green, white. We have Stewart of Valerian, which is a green, white, which has Vigilance and allows us to add green to our mana pool. And then we have Sprouting Thrinax, which is black, red, green. And we do have some black, red, green mana fixing. We don't have a lot of it, but we do have some. We've also got Goblin Death Raiders, which would fit into a black, red, green build. If we go with black, red, green, the unfortunate thing is, again, we can't play any white, so we can't play Espeth. And then we've got Jesse and Infiltrator, which is a green, blue. So if we were going for any build with green, blue in that, there's another multicoloured card we could play. So the direction I'm really going at the moment is, and this is obviously in most part distorted by the fact that I've got really strong white card, a lot of white, and my mana fixing is good for white, blue, black predominantly. I am going to go for a white, blue, black build using these cards that I picked out. The downside is that some of the abilities I won't be able to play because I'll be missing that mana. So I've got 2 choices. I can either leave it as it is, or I can substitute with some other white cards, which maybe I pulled out, put to one side, but might be better than playing the card where I can't actually use all of its abilities. Now I've already looked through, and at the moment there's nothing like that really just jumps out, so I'm going to leave that as it is. So white, black and blue. Now doing that basically gives me 19 cards out of my 24. Okay, so I need to basically bump that up a bit. So how am I going to do that? Well, obviously I've got the 2 multicoloured cards, so I now have 21 cards there. Now, in addition to that, I've got my Quieter Spike, which is my colour so I want to play. So then I'm now up to my 24. So I've now got to start building my mana base. If you remember, I also pointed out that I have the mana fixing here. There, so I'm just going to bring that out, and I'm just going to show you how this works. So I've gone through, and based on the sort of cards I've chosen, I've worked out that with a pool of a mana pool of 16 cards, and with a white, blue, white, blue, black. I'm going to need, based on the proportions here, 8 white and then 4 of the black and 4 of the blue. And this is basically looking at the amount of mana it costs, but what I've considered is the total amount of mana cost, not the number of cards. That's roughly how I do mine. Is to get a rough rule of thumb initially, I total up all the coloured mana and then base it on that rather than basing it on the number of cards with that colour mana. So that's where I've roughly ended up with. So that, like I said, that would leave me with 8, 4 and 4 if I was, at this moment, I haven't included these mana fixes. Now it's interesting that I have 3. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to, for my mana base, I'm going to use 7 plains, 3 islands and 3 swamps, and also use these 3. So that will then still add up to 24, and I've got the advantage of having these to basically fix my mana. So that's going to be my final build. Okay, thanks very much for watching.